Hi students, it's me Praveena, and here is the continuation of mode theory. And in one of my classes I have explained about the mode theory, and in that classes you can see that I explained the various modes in a optical fiber, and we have also drawn the diagram which represents the TE0 mode, TE1 mode and TE2 mode, etc. And once it is asked for a question of 8 mark, you should explain all these concepts of mode theory along with some equations, and equation part I haven't discussed in that topic. So in this topic we will explain or we will analyze the mode theory based on Maxwell equations, and actually we didn't need any elaborated equations and all, and we just using some basic equations, and you should it is better to by heart those equations, and for getting marks, and it will be useful. And so let us start with the topic. First is Maxwell's equation and analysis, and I prepared this for 8 mark question. So for explain mode theory, first of all we can start here. Maxwell's equations play an important role to analyze the optical waveguides, which gives the relationship between electric and magnetic field. I think you might have studied about Maxwell's equation in the microwave devices, okay? And you know that in an optical waveguide, for representing the propagation of the wave, it is better to use Maxwell's equation, and this Maxwell's equation gives the relationship between electric field and magnetic field. Okay, for analytical purposes, we are assuming that there is a linear isotonic dielectric material or a dielectrical medium, and that have no currents and free charges. And in that case, Maxwell's equation can be written as, that means our assumption is that the material or a waveguide that is linear isotonic dielectric material, and that is having no currents and free charges, and in that case Maxwell's equations are we have studied that del cross E is equal to minus dou B by dou T, and del cross H is equal to dou D divided by dou T, del dot D equal to 0 because it is assumed that no free charge, and del dot B is equal to 0, and that is because there is no free poles, and you know that del is a vector operator. What is its value? Del is equal to dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z, sorry, dou by dou x plus dou by dou y plus dou by dou z. Okay, and del can be written as epsilon E, and B, sorry, D can, here the notation is faulty, that is it is not a del, it is D. D is equal to epsilon E and B is equal to mu h. That is the basic equation. So remember that last equation is not a del, that is D, capital D. Capital D equal to epsilon E and capital B equal to mu h. Okay. And in that case we know that epsilon and mu are the dielectric permittivity and magnetic permeability respectively, where epsilon is dielectric permittivity and mu is magnetic permeability, and we can substitute the value of D and B in equations. So we will get, you know that there is in the first two equation, first equation del cross E, that is equal to minus dou B by dou T, and here there is a term B, instead of B we are substituting mu h, and the second equation del cross H is equal to dou D divided by dou T, instead of D we are substituting epsilon E. So when we are substituting it, we will get del cross E and del cross H in terms of epsilon and E. Actually here it is not written that equation, but we are taking the curl of that equation, that is del cross E equal to some quantity, and we are taking the curl of equation del cross H, that is del cross H is equal to. So we are not representing the substitution steps, we are simply writing the final equations. So when we are taking the curl of the first equation, that is first equation is del cross E. In that equation we are substituting for B as a mu h, and after substituting B value we are taking the curl of that equation, so we will get a del cross E. Okay, so we will get the curl of that equation as a minus mu into epsilon into dou square E divided by dou T square. Similarly in the second equation, what is the second equation? Second equation is del cross H is equal to dou D divided by dou T. In that equation also we are substituting the value of D. What is D? D is epsilon E. And when we are substituting epsilon E, and then after substituting the value of D, we are taking the curl of that equation. So del cross H. So we will get del cross H is equal to minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square. These are two equations. Okay. Again we have a mathematical relation that del cross del equal to del dot V minus del square V. That is a mathematical relationship. So we obtain the non-dispersive Maxwell's wave equations for the wave analysis of electric field as, that is we have a relationship, mathematical relationship like this, del cross del equal to del dot V minus del square V, and we can apply this equation to above two equation, that is del cross E and del cross H. So we will get the wave equations as del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square equal to 0. Also del square for the magnetic field, del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square equal to 0. And how we are getting this equation is, in the left side of this equation, that del cross E, and we can substitute the mathematical relation del cross del in that equation. So left hand side of the equation become del square E. Okay. Similarly, in the case of del cross H, we are using the mathematical relation of del cross del. So we will get del square H in the left side. Okay. So we got del square E and del square H. So we can rearrange both of these equations. So we will get del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square equal to 0, and also del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square is equal to 0. See, there is no need to explain all the steps, and you have to remember the final equations. For getting the marks, it's enough. Okay. So we don't go for lengthy procedures. Okay. So actually I am explaining in order to remembering those equations. If you have you are stuck in between in writing the equation, you can use the logic. Okay. So in this equation, when we are elaborating the left hand side, we will get a minus del square E, and similarly for the second equation, if we are elaborating the left hand side, we will get a minus del square H. Okay. Also by simply substituting those values and rearranging this equation 1 and equation 2, we will get the wave equations for the electric field as del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square equal to 0, and for the magnetic field also it is del square E minus mu epsilon into dou square H by dou T square is equal to 0. So that the equation numbers are marked. And next, for getting a good understanding of the mode concept, we can use this diagram. Here it is shown that and we are representing a fiber optic cable, and actually it is not a cylindrical cable, and we are taking for analytical purpose and for reducing the complexity, for reducing the mathematical complexity, we are taking the simple plane waveguide. Okay. So to get a good understanding of mode concept without too much mathematical complexity, a simple waveguide is considered, and that waveguide is shown in the figure 210. Okay. Actually here we are taking a plane layer, and that plane layer is infinite in the y direction. Okay. In the inside direction there are three directions, x, y and z. Actually it is not marked in that figure. See, y is in the perpendicular direction and x is in the horizontal direction, and y is in the inward direction. Okay. So in that figure we can see that that means there are three lines that are mutually perpendicular. One is x direction, one is y direction, and one is z direction. And a plane here the a plane layer which is infinite in extent in the lateral y and z directions. Okay, you should understand the z and y directions from the figure, and it is bounded in the x direction. Okay. See, when we are taking the refractive index, we can see that actually the refractive index of the middle portion is N1 and cladding portion is N3, and for the support is it is N2 for the plane waveguide. Okay, these are all assumptions, and we can see that when once a light hit in the core, and there will be propagation of that light wave in the form of waveguides. And the modes are different modes when in the case of planar waveguide is shown on the right hand side of the this figure, and it is seen that there are here I am representing three modes. First is TE0 mode, TE1 mode and TE2, and its explanation is given in the previous class. Okay, in TE0 mode there is field maxima at the center, and its order is 1. There is no zero crossing with the reference, and in the case of T1 mode order is 2, and also there are one zero crossing with the reference and 2 field maxima there, and here the order is 3, and there are 3 field maxima inside the core, and also there are 2 field crossing there. Okay, and next, and this is the modes. This is the modes in a plane waveguide, and next is we can see that for the light to propagate inside the core, that is through film N1, it should satisfy the total internal reflection condition. Okay, that means N1 should be greater than N2, and in that case the discrete set of guided electromagnetic waves are called modes of the waveguide, and it depends upon the fiber composition and geometry. And consider the general wave equation, and here the general wave equation can be represented as a del square u is equal to n square d square u divided by c square dt square. These all are the equation that you have to by heart it. Okay, this is the general wave equation that we obtained from the Maxwell's equations, and here u is a time dependent wave equation, and n is the refractive index, and c is the speed of the light in vacuum. And by Maxwell's concepts, and the electric field can be given as electric field can be represented as E of x, y, z and t, that is equal to E of x comma y into e raised to j omega t minus beta z. Okay, so in the previous diagram it is shown that different modes, and for a light wave to pass through the core of the optical fiber should satisfy total internal reflection, and for total internal reflection to take place n1 should be greater than n2, and also the wave equations, general wave equation can be written as del square u equal to n square d square u divided by c square dt square, and by Maxwell's equation we can write electric field vector as E of x comma y comma z comma t equal to E of x comma y into e raised to j omega t minus beta z, where beta is the propagation constant. Okay, and in the above equation, in the previous slide the equation is given, and here E of x comma y is the transverse electric field distribution, and omega is the angular frequency, and beta is the propagation constant. Okay, E of x comma y is the electric field in x and y direction, and omega is the angular velocity, and beta is the propagation constant. And we can combine both of the equations in 210 and 211, that is we can combine in these 210 and 211 equations, del square u and E of x comma y equations, and we will get the equation dou square by dou x square E of x comma y plus dou square by dou y square E of x comma y plus k square n square minus beta square into E of x comma y equal to 0. So by combining above equation, actually there is no relationship between these two equations. Okay, but in order to combining we have to take different quantities u in terms of v. So it is a lengthy procedure, so it is not explaining here. So general wave equation can be combined with the electric field equation, so we will get this final equation. Okay, and in this equation there is a term k, so k can be written as k is equal to omega by c, and for c we can substitute f into lambda. We know that the general equation for velocity of the light is equal to c is equal to f lambda, so on the omega is equal to, we know that 2 pi f. Okay, and frequency components will be cancelled out, and we will get finally k equal to 2 pi by lambda. and that means k is the wave number. 2 pi by lambda is the wave number, and omega is, here the notation is omega is equal to 2 pi v, where v is the frequency of the light. Okay, so k is the wave number, and since the index of inside and outside of the waveguide are different, and the waveguide is assumed to infinity in y directions, so there are two different equations for two regions. We know that we have taken a plane waveguide and with the two different refractive index n1 and n2, so the refractive indices are different, so there will be two equations for the waveguide passing through this optical fiber. So inside waveguide wave equation is given by dou square E of x comma y divided by dou x square plus k square n1 square minus beta square into E of x comma y equal to 0. Similarly, for the outside waveguide, the wave equations will be dou square by dou x square into E of x comma y plus k square into n2 square minus beta square into E of x comma y equal to 0. The difference is that for the inside waveguide, refractive index is n1, and for the outside it is refractive index is n2 square. So we can simply substitute n1 square and n2 square, and we will get this equation. These are the waveguide these are the wave equations corresponding to inner waveguide and outer waveguide. Okay, so from the above equation, that is from the last equation, that is equation 213 and 214 or 212, these three equations are the basic equations for representing the propagation of light through the core of the fiber and propagation of light through the cladding of the fiber. So you should remember these three equations, that is equations 212 and 213 and 214. Okay, next we will make a conclusion that we have a quantity k n square minus beta square in these three equations. Okay, so our conclusion is that depending on the sign of the factor k square n square minus beta square, there are three different cases may be found in the case of optical fiber. Okay. So first condition is that if beta square is greater than k square n1 square, first condition is beta square greater than k square n1 square. So when it is greater than k square n1 square, the quantity k square n1 square minus beta square will be negative. Okay, when beta square is greater, that quantity will be negative in both regions. So the solutions of these equations are exponential function of x, and corresponding modes will be unguided modes. Okay, so the condition for unguided mode is that beta square should be greater than k square n1 square, or k square n1 square minus beta square is negative, then the modes propagating through the fiber will be unguided modes. Okay, and second condition is that beta square greater than k square n2 square. So the quantity k square n2 square minus beta square will be negative. In this case also the solutions will be sinusoidal in both regions, and these are called radiation modes, and here all energy will dissipate out as surroundings are infinity. Okay, so all the energy will be dissipated in the surrounding. Okay, so energy dissipated will be infinity. So the two conditions we have studied, that k square n1 square minus beta square is negative, so the solutions will be exponential function of x, and the modes propagating through the core will be unguided modes. And the second condition is that k square n2 square minus beta square is negative, and its solution will be sinusoidal, and it also represents by the decaying exponential function, and those modes are called radiation modes, and usually it appears in the cladding region, and all the energy will be dissipated, and the energy loss will be infinity in that case. And the third condition is that k square n2 square less than beta square less than k square n1 square, that is beta square value is in between k square n2 square and k square n1 square, and in that case the solutions are sinusoidal functions inside the waveguide and exponentially decreasing outside the waveguide, and these are called guided modes, and the propagation constant beta are restricted to certain value which actually represent the different modes. Okay, and so the third condition is the sufficient condition for a wave or a light to propagate through the core of the fiber in a guided mode. Okay, so the condition k square n2 square minus beta square less than k square n1 square is the condition for guided mode. Okay, So in the guided mode there will be different modes like T0, T1, T2, etc. Okay. So this is all about mode theory, and for examination purpose you should explain mode theory in this manner. Okay. So you should have write the conclusion part, because that is the main